I've never met a person that actually remembers more than Rogan. We go to dinner after the fights.
Yeah.
And he'll be talking about events at UFC 15, and I'm like, UFC 15? Was that in 2004?
Bro, we had 300 now. You talking about 15.
Yeah. He's like, I'm telling you, like this. But his memory to recall all these things, I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
But yeah, and Shannon, it says something when you do a job just for the love of doing the job, when you don't have to do it.
Right.
Joe doesn't have to do UFC.
Nah, he don't.
With the Spotify thing that he has going on and everything.
It's a fact. He doesn't care about money. He did the first 13 shows for free for us. You know what I mean? That was at a time when we were hurting, and he's like, wait a minute, you want me to do the commentary? You're saying that I get to sit in the best seat in the house and watch these fights for free?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. And then obviously when we turned things around, we made it up to Joe.
Who would win in the streets, me or Joe Rogan? Come on, bro. Be serious, Darren Hill. Listen, Joe's great. Oh, you know, very, very good guy. But he would not beat me in a fight, and that is just a fact. And I don't think I'm saying anything controversial there. Those who can't teach, and those who can't teach, talk about it. Joe's not a fighter. Joe's a very successful comedian, a very successful commentator. Joe's a very good person. Joe's a very popular, very extremely famous, and very wealthy person. But he's not a fighter, you know? So to answer your question, mate, with the greatest of respect, I don't think I'm saying anything sensationalized there.
Joe Rogan is a comedian. First and foremost, if you ask Joe, you meet him in a bar somewhere, you don't know who he is, you guys hit it off and you're visiting, what do? He will say comedian. He will not say I am a fight analyst. He won't mention a podcast. He'll say I am a comedian. And that is very relevant. There is only a few walks left in this society where you can do and say anything you want and not ever get in trouble for it. And one of them is a comedian. And I'm telling you guys this as a guy who has a degree in sociology. And Joe is one of these guys who wants to know everything about everything. If you ever visit with Joe Rogan, you're going to leave there going, man, that was a cool guy. By the way, he didn't say very much. We talked for 20 minutes. I did about 15 minutes of the talking. Joe wants to hear from you. Joe wants to learn from you. Joe will share some of his ideas, but he always wants to hear yours.
Just talking to Joe on the walk over, how long for me to train to beat Ron Hood? That'll never happen.
He wouldn't know. He's not an expert. He's a fan with an audience.
I actually get where she's coming from with Rogan, right? Because, like, he's not a fighter, you know? Neither's John Anik. And, you know, like, so I actually kind of get that part. I don't know why she was hating on Joe Rogan, though. And Joe Rogan is extremely knowledgeable. You know, the fact that he never stepped foot in the cage, you know, that doesn't make him unknowledgeable. Now, I do believe it is less knowledgeable than someone who has. But that's, I don't know. It's so strange to me. Like, that's not the guy to call out.
Yes, that was an uncalled, unfair, biased shot towards Joe Rogan. And Joe's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm offended by that. Not that my opinion matters, but it's offensive. The worst part about that is, like, when I think about it, it's like, yes, what she's saying is not false. Like, he's a fan with an audience. Like, he's a fan. Mm-hmm. He has an audience, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't know what he's talking about. That doesn't negate him from having a valid opinion about a subject on fighting. In fact, like, he gets paid more than anybody in the UFC to give his opinion about fighting.
Yeah.
The first time I worked with Joe was actually, a lot of people don't know this, UFC 155 in 2012. Oftentimes I find myself being the oldest man in the room nowadays, but I got that call about a year into my now 13-year run with the UFC. And it was like 3 or 4 days notice. I got the call on Christmas Day that I was getting called up to the big leagues 4 days later on December 29, 2012. So yeah, back then I was freaking out. And even then, no Spotify deal, but Joe Rogan was still larger than life. He was still one of the probably biggest male influencers in the entire United States of America back in 2012. So getting the call to work with him was obviously very special, but now I consider him a friend, and yeah, that helps.
Joe Rogan's going to be a tough night out for anybody, right? If you're an expert of martial arts, what that largely means is that you've studied martial arts. You've studied it, you know what you're looking at, you know how to talk about it. Joe's proved that he's done that with his work on the mic. But getting in and actually doing martial arts, that's a whole nother level. Joe was like Taekwondo, but he was a black belt in Taekwondo. He gets into jiu-jitsu. He buddies up with Eddie Bravo, which is a very hard system. There are different systems out there, and the rubber guard, the 10th planet system is very different. Joe gets a black belt in that. He's into lifting weights. He's into being in good shape. I'm just saying, that's a tough night out. Mark Coleman found that out. And I know those two were playing, but you can have a smile on your face while you're digging in and pummeling with one another. I mean, I'm just sharing with you. That's a tough night.
This is going to sound crazy. I know I'm a comedian, and I know I'm just a commentator, but I have a really good spinning back kick. I'm like, I could show you how to do it, and I could show you as good as any human being that's ever lived.
So I said, yeah, right. I'm like, then I was rolling my eyes like, what the fuck is Joe Rogan? I didn't know what your background, you know, like I knew you did some martial arts.
That's what I thought he was going to think.
No, but he knew that because the word gets around that you have a very strong spinning back kick. He somehow told him, or he's seen it, or because he told me. I remember he told me. Then I was like, yeah, I'll do it when I go train with Freddie Roach. And then I couldn't believe it. I called him the same night. I said, what the fuck was that, man? It's like, this should be if he ever fights, man, this should be illegal. He can kill someone with this, man. It's insane, man.
Well, what's fucked up is it almost feels like a lie. Because it was so long ago. It was a different life. Like, I stopped fighting. I'm 50 years old. I stopped fighting when I was 21. So I haven't fought in forever. So it's just, I keep doing it and training, but I haven't done it so long. So when I tell someone that I can do it, I'm like, is that true? I'm like saying, is it true?
How many people did you ever light up someone with that particular?
There's a video of me when I was 19 from a Taekwondo tournament, making a guy fly through the air. Yeah.
Are you serious?
It's on YouTube. Yeah, Jamie.
Oh
Jamie
my God. Is he okay now? Is he alive?
I don't know.
There's a lot of snakes in this game. I've been in this fight game since 2008. And Joe Rogan is one of the nicest, coolest, humble motherfuckers I've had the pleasure of working with. Understand that. And you know, it's just, fuck the noise, man. You know what they're trying to do. You can't control the man, and he's got the biggest platform in the world right now. So that's my nigga, Joe Rogan. Fuck the noise.
And Joe does, I feel it too, guys. Joe Rogan calls big fights. If you agree with that statement, then adversely, you're agreeing that if Joe doesn't call it, it's not a big fight. Do you see? And we all felt that, right? There's something there. Very special. Took a very long time, a lot of hard work and dedication, but Joe's got it.
Joe and I have been super close friends for a very long time. I would do anything for Joe Rogan. So before we bought the company, he worked for a little while for the UFC. He was a backstage interviewer. But I didn't even know that when I saw the videotape of him.
Like Joe Rogan, and if you don't know the story, and I'm not going to be, I can't tell it 100% with accuracy, but he's been involved in the UFC since before any of us as a commentator. And he was doing it for free. And not even as a commentator. Like they brought him on as like like a roving reporter.
Yeah, I remember.
So he was like the roving reporter and he was doing it for free. So like that was
he had great hair.
Come in, like they didn't sign him to fight, right? You know what I'm saying? They brought him in as a roving reporter. And then he segued over to commentary, and he's been involved in the UFC for over 30 years. And just because he hasn't fought doesn't discount him from having an opinion on the fight game, because he's extremely knowledgeable of the fight game.
How would a fight with you and Joe Rogan play out?
I think I beat the shit out of Joe Rogan. Long as he don't get me to the ground, because his jiu-jitsu is really good.
Yeah, he's got good jiu-jitsu.
That's what I know. You know he got good jiu-jitsu because he's so biased against jiu-jitsu guys. You can hear it in his voice. Whenever a guy is a jiu-jitsu fighter, Joe Rogan might as well be like playing the rusted trombone, like he's a jiu-jitsu guy.
My goodness.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck, man.
For one, you're attacking Joe Rogan, which is just the last dude that you want as your enemy. You know, which I mean, I don't think he doesn't give a fuck, I'm sure, but you know, like you don't want like to turn his crowd away, like the biggest crowd in America, and to disrespect him, it doesn't make sense either, right?
Nick, is it still train by day, Joe Rogan by night?
Oh yeah, Joe Rogan by night. Yeah, I try not to watch too much of that now. I get too ramped up in that stuff.
What are your favorites? The alien ones?
I like all of it. I mean, well, I used to like all of it. The thing about watching that is that, and the reason why I was so in tune with it is because I was actually following a lot of people that he would bring onto that show before he had him on that show.
Okay.
I was already versed in a lot of the subjects and
like the government stuff.
Just well, you know,
Yeah,
I don't want to go too far into it, but like, yeah, a lot of those guys, like, you know, in all aspects, with, you know, with health and fitness or some of the other cool stuff, you know, I was kind of versed in following, you know, watching them and following some of them before he had them on there.
Okay.
You know, I was a real big YouTube guy before there was Instagram and Snapchat. And
Yeah.
the social media world really kind of blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
Joe, to me, when I listen, and I don't listen to commentary these days. I since God, long time. I generally mute it. I don't listen because I don't need it. But Joe's commentary is approached like a fan, right? He gets super excited. He's very verbal about stuff, tends to go off when something exciting happens, blah, 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 blah. He approaches it like a fan and behaves like a fan. And people who like Joe Rogan like that kind of commentary. And Joe's not the kind of guy who makes the kinds of comments, typically, that infuriate you if you never stepped in the octagon yourself. If you never stepped into a cage and fought in MMA professionally, which Joe Rogan never did. He doesn't make those comments about, I would do this, and this, like the things that kind of drive you nuts. He doesn't do that often. You either like Joe's fan style of commentary or you don't. And his fans really like it, and the people who don't like him don't. That's it, right? But once again, this idea of going after Joe Rogan, okay, I don't know why necessarily what he would have done to you, right? And also, she's stating an obvious point that he didn't do it for a living, but the fans of Joe Rogan know that. The fans of his commentary know that.
I'll tell you one thing that Joe does that other people can't do. Because I do think everybody can call the fight basically the same. You say what you're seeing, you're an expert in it, you got a passion, you seem to enjoy it. The post-fight in-ring interview. It is hard to do an in-ring interview that isn't painful. You go in there, the person's tired, they want to say their piece to the world, but they're not overly thrilled to be saying it to you. You're guiding where this is going to go, not to mention they're going to 3 questions out the door. Push it about 45 seconds. They'd like to thank some people. Maybe they got a mouthpiece in. They're huffing and puffing. They've been punched. It's a tough moment. And Joe can go in there and have a conversation.
Yes, I watched Joe Rogan podcast. He asked a couple times. I really want to go there. But before I go there, I want to improve my English to explain people what I have in my mind, you know. In Russian language, I can say everything. But in English, I have a little bit barrier. When I'm going to be ready, I'll let you know.